So I know that some of you are coming to an inflection point where you have to decide between keeping your job and making a medical decision that you might not want to make or might not be ready to make or any of those things. And I'm so sorry it's come to this. That's the first thing I want to say. I'm really sorry that you're in this position. I cannot imagine being in this position. I am so lucky and so blessed that because of all of you watching this video right now, I don't have to be in this position, and that is one of the most extraordinary gifts that you guys can give to me. But also, you know, I also think that that there are a lot of influencers out there right now who are saying, just stand up for yourself, don't give in, just, you know, damn the man and do what you need to do and all that stuff. And I frankly think they're behaving really irresponsibly by saying that, because I think for people in a position like I am, where I don't report to anyone for my money, I don't have anyone, you know, looking down over me saying, you will get the vaccine or you will not get a paycheck next month. I think it's really easy for people in a position like this to say to people, you know, just don't do it. Just stand on your principles and don't do it, and lose your job if you have to. And I don't want to act like this is an easy decision, because I know for a lot of you it's not. I know for a lot of you might be living paycheck to paycheck. For a lot of you might, if you lose your job, you might not know how you're going to pay your mortgage next month. And I want you to know that, you know, we failed you. All of us as a collective, we didn't do enough. All throughout 2020, the right didn't do enough to fight to make sure that Joe Biden wouldn't end up in office. The right barely did anything. I'm sorry, that's true. They went to Trump rallies, they put on MAGA hats, they screamed rah, rah, rah. They barely did anything other than that. They waited for Trump to save them. And it didn't work out. They didn't fight for election integrity before the election. They didn't do the things they needed to do. They appointed really, I'm sorry, like idiots to fight for their cause after the election. The right failed you. And everyone who was fighting back, we didn't do enough. And this is the consequence. This is the consequence of not doing enough. This is the consequence of losing an election. And whether or not you think that election was lost fairly is not actually the point, because there were any number of things that the Republicans could have done prior to the election to make sure it didn't work out this way, if it really was unfair. You guys know what I think about that. And it wasn't done because they didn't care. And now you're in this position and you're going to suffer for it, and you're going to have to decide, do I keep my job or do I get a vaccine? I'm really sorry it's come to this. And I want you to hear that, at least from one person, that I know it's not an easy decision. And I know that a lot of you are losing sleep over this, and you're wondering, you know, do I really stick to my guns? Can I find another job if I stick to my guns? There are a couple things I want you to know. Number one, I would never judge anyone for making the choice to get a vaccine in order to keep your job. Well, that's not entirely true. Some of you I will judge. Some of you I will judge. If you're a person that you have a nest egg, that you have a skill set that would enable you to get a different job, then I do think that there is some responsibility to speak up and do the right thing for people who can't. I will judge you for that. Absolutely. But if you are a person that you simply don't have the means, or you are in a position where it's going to be extraordinarily difficult, or, you know, there are any number of extenuating circumstances, I don't feel like I need to list them off, because you know if you have those extenuating circumstances or not. For any of you, I understand why you get the vaccine. I understand. Listen, I might get the vaccine because I want to go to Europe. You know, I might get the vaccine purely for that. So if I'm going to get the vaccine because I want to go to Europe, you know, I can't really judge people who might get the vaccine because they want to keep their job. I can't judge you for that. Again, I'll judge you if you have a nest egg and there's not some other extenuating reason, like you're just like, I just don't want to give up my finer comforts in life. If that's your excuse, BS, man, I call BS. But if there's another reason, if there are other factors involved, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not scared of getting the vaccine. I don't think most of you need to be scared of it. contact the CDC for all vaccine related information. But from you're probably going to be fine. It's probably going to be fine. But I know it feels like you're losing something. I know it feels like you're giving in. I know it feels like you've been coerced. And that's probably the worst part of all of this. I'll be honest, I didn't give two flips about the vaccine when all of this started. And then the coercion just kept coming and coming and coming, and they started othering people. And then I started to care, because it's not about the vaccine. I'm not afraid of the vaccine. If I end up getting it, I'd probably be fine. But it's the coercion. It's the government colluding with private companies to force the citizenry to adopt their medicine. And that has to leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth. There's a reason that a significant portion of the population hasn't done it yet, and it's not because they're not informed, it's because they're smelling your bullshit. Government, they're smelling your bullshit. So I feel for you if you're in this position. I really do. No one can make this choice for you. You have to make it for yourself. But the other piece of advice I'm going to give you is do not quit. You have to make them fire you. Make them fire you. I'm going to say that again. You have to make them fire you. Now, no one likes getting fired, but it simply is the reality that if you proactively quit your job, you are going to lose out on any potential unemployment benefits that you could have. You have to make them fire you. If they tell you that you are voluntarily terminating yourself by not adhering to the policy, they are lying to you. That is a bold-faced lie. It is not the truth. That is something they made up to pressure you into quitting so that you couldn't then collect unemployment benefits. The only way that you have any possibility of collecting unemployment benefits in this situation is if they fire you, and your case is going to be a hell of a lot better if you have asked for exemptions, or even better than an exemption. Don't even ask for an exemption. Ask for a reasonable accommodation. Ask for a reasonable accommodation and then document what they say. You have to document absolutely every single thing, because for a lot of employers are going to be fighting unemployment claims. And so you have to go into the claim with all the evidence you have. And some of these claims will absolutely be improved. If you quit your job, you are taking yourself out of contention for unemployment claims entirely. If you get fired from your job and you have all this documentation to back it up, you can still file for unemployment. There are all sorts of jobs out there. I know people who are job hunting. There are jobs out there. There are jobs out there that aren't requiring the vaccine. I do believe that many people will be able to find another job. Now, it might not be exactly the job you want, but sometimes you don't get to pick and choose. Sometimes you have to take what's there. But it's still a job. It's still something. And if you're one of the people that decides to take the vaccine to stay at your job, I would view it as a temporary reprieve at best. You could not pay me enough money to work long-term for an employer who insisted on making a medical decision for me, because this isn't going to be the last time. Why on earth would you think this would be the last time? There's going to be another thing after this, and then another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing after that. If you choose to stay at your employer by getting the vaccine, you need to start ratcheting down your effort. Do the bare minimum that is required of your job. Do the bare minimum to meet your goals. Do not go above and beyond. Do not work late. Do not work nights. Do not work weekends. Do not go beyond your job description. Your role, once you get the vaccine, should be to go in, do what you need to do to meet your goals, and then spend the rest of your time working on an exit plan. Get out. Beef up your resume. Start applying to new jobs. Make sure you know the vaccination policy of the new jobs you're applying to. Or better yet, open your own business. Start your own business. Start figuring out how much money you would need to make right now so that you could work for yourself, so that you never wind up in this position again. I do think that a mistake that an awful lot of people made at the beginning of the pandemic was they didn't use their time well. So many people had enhanced unemployment benefits for an extended period of time. You had time. Money's not the most valuable commodity, time is. You are literally getting paid for your time. You could have used that time that you had to build a business, to start a side hustle, to do anything. Maybe it wouldn't have built up overnight, but at least you would have had the infrastructure for it. Any person that is not trying to figure out how to be completely self-sufficient at this point is missing the boat, and you're missing the bigger picture. This is not going to stop with this vaccine. This is not going to stop with this pandemic. You need to start figuring out ways that you can do for yourself without relying on other people. And if you haven't started yet, you're a little late to the ball game. But it doesn't mean you can't start now, because this isn't going to be the last time. So, again, I'm just really sorry that it's come to this. I think that a lot of people have failed. I think we as a collective have failed. I do wonder how much it's going to take for people to start standing up for themselves. I wonder how much it's going to take for the political right. I've given up hope on the political right now. I have no hope for... I'm sorry, I know a lot of my viewers are on the right. If you're one of the people that's been standing up for yourself and actually doing something, I'm sorry, you're in a community of cowards. I don't know what it's going to take, but obviously we aren't there yet, because there's still a lot of people. I made a post on Twitter about this yesterday, and I saw so many people say, well, you know, Carlin, my son has a really good job with really good benefits, and, you know, it would just be really inconvenient for him to quit over this. Okay. But don't be upset when the next thing comes along, and then the next thing after that, and then the next thing after that, because if you think they're going to stop with this, you haven't been paying attention. They haven't stopped at all. We're still in 15 days to slow the flippin' spread. They haven't stopped. What are we on? Booster number 3? Not booster number 3, but a third shot. You think there's not going to be a fourth? There's a fourth line on the vaccination card. You've got to learn to do for yourself. You got to stop making excuses about why you can't speak up, or else we're going to be in this position for a while. And I really do think that the only thing that we can really do at this point is find communities of like-minded people that we can congregate together. I'm so blessed I live in New Hampshire. But find your communities, find your people, hunker down, do what you need to do, become self-sufficient. That's the best advice I have, guys. All right, that's all I've got. I'll see you soon.